So I was interviewing Mike Collier, who's running for lieutenant governor, and he says
the owners of large commercial and industrial properties are underpaying their taxes by $5 billion, and everyone knows about it.
At a time when many Texans are paying more property taxes than ever, Collier is saying big companies are underpaying their property taxes by $5 billion. Is that true? I'm in Hood County, and there's a brand new power plant here. Exelon Power told the county what it spent to build the plant, and so the county set the plant's taxable value at $436 million. But the owner then said that was too high, that the plant was not as profitable as predicted. It filed a lawsuit against the county and succeeded in knocking the value down by $86 million.
I mean, I want every business in the county to be successful. I just don't want them to be successful at the expense of the citizens.
Daryl Cockrum is the county judge, and he's telling me one way or the other, the county has to meet its budget. So a lower value at the plant forced him to raise taxes on homeowners.
So are you saying when the power plant got its taxes reduced, the taxpayers all chipped in a little bit more?
Exactly.
Is that fair?
No, I don't think it's fair.
So I started looking around, and I found more large properties lowering their taxable value. Southwest Airlines protested its value this year and ended up with a $66 million reduction in the assessed value of its headquarters. In Austin, the owner of the Circuit of America's racetrack settled out of court, cutting $180 million in value. And in 2015, the nuclear power plant in Somervell County, Comanche Peak, cut $611 million in value with a lawsuit that settled out of court. The owner, Luminant, says profits were way down and the plant was now worth less.
If you need to pay for police and fire, or you need to pay for schools, and somebody has to do it, it ends up being the homeowners.
I'm talking to Dick Levine. He's an advocate for property tax reform. And he's telling me more about these lawsuits that I found where corporations sue counties. He says if a county loses one of those suits, it has to pay the company's legal fees.
What happens if you go up against the owner of a nuclear power plant and you lose? What's the downside risk for the county?
Well, instead of going to court, they'll say, okay, we'll settle and we'll reduce your appraisal, because they can't afford to go to court and lose. But what that means is they're settling for what they know is less than the real market value, because the property owner has them over a barrel.
Take Dallas County, for example. Last year, it was sued 2,400 times by commercial property owners. 0 cases went to trial. The county says it could not afford to lose and pay the other side's legal fees.
So I'm in Texas City now because there are tons of refineries here, and they are getting their taxes lower and lower and lower. The thing is, the school district says it's taken the brunt of this.
We lost 3 campuses in Harvey, so now our high school kids are in the first floor of the high school. Our middle school kids are in the second floor of the high school.
I'm talking to Dr. Rodney Cavness, the superintendent. He's telling me homeowners here are already taxed at the highest level allowed by law. One of the biggest taxpayers in town is the Valero refinery. Through a lawsuit, Valero challenged 4 years of taxes it had already paid and won. Texas City ISD had to pay Valero back. The state reimbursed the district over the course of a year.
We had about a $9.5 million budget deficit, and we wrote Valero a check for $8 million.
Why did you write Valero a check for $8 million?
They contested their values from 15, 16.
When you have to write a check back for $8 million, what does that do to education, to the school district?
That takes $8 million out of the bank for us. And $8 million, that's almost 10% of our budget.
Valero declined to comment for this story. Everyone has the right to challenge their property taxes. It's just that in Texas, there's a state law that really helps big corporations. It's written by this guy.
This may not be popular, but I don't think the property tax system is broken.
Tax attorney Jim Popp, who helps large properties challenge their valuations.
Is not a process that was made out of thin air when I wrote it. It's based upon perhaps 100 years of appraisal methodology.
If you've ever challenged your own taxes, you might remember that the taxable value of your house is based on what similar homes in your neighborhood are selling for. Pop's Law introduced another method. It's called median value, which means in the middle. So imagine you just bought a shopping mall for $100 million, but other comparable malls are taxed at a value of $60 million. It's only fair that the value of your $100 million mall should come down.
You compare yours to the other two. If they are identical, then you should pay on $60 million.
Even if you just paid $100 million.
Even if you just paid $100 million.
Pop says it's a fair way for commercial properties to pay what they owe, but not more.
We're not lowering its taxable value, we're finding the correct taxable value.
Okay, well, whatever you're
Right.
finding, it just means that someone else
it's
has to pay more.
lower than it was before.
Someone's got to pay more.
They do. That is how the process works.
So back to candidate Mike Collier and his statement that commercial properties are underpaying their taxes by $5 billion. He says he bases that on projections he made from a 2006 report that estimated the loss of tax value to large counties in Texas. However, Collier was unable to provide us with that report. Still, after looking into this myself, I can verify that the appraisal process in Texas can drag down commercial values, shrink the tax base, and force homeowners to pay more taxes. If you've got something you want verified, send me an email.